Greetings, Saber fans. Actually, this one isn't for the fans. This one is for Bonnie Adler, the Sith Lord Thunder from Down Under, about how to disload, take apart your Kylo Ren saber. So you have to suspend disbelief here, because my Kylo Ren saber has already been modified, and rebuilt. But there are two screws. So in the sides of the saber, right here and right here, are two very small flathead screws. So you're going to need a small screwdriver to take those screws out. So you stick your screwdriver in there and you take those screws out, and I'll show you what they look like. Very, very small flathead screws. Don't lose them, because if you lose them, then you'll have to learn how to tap and thread for 832. But you take those screws out, one on each side. There's one on each side of the lightsaber. So you take those screws out, and then you would take your, you'd take your pommel off, and then you would slide out your battery carrier out of your pommel. Now mine's, heavily modified, so mine's a lot different than yours, but you take your battery carrier out and just set it to the side. Once you take those two screws out, all you have to do is pry off this plastic trim piece, and it's plastic, and it's glued with something like E6000, and that's what I use when I glue them back in. So you just gently pry off that plastic like that till you get to that point. And then on your saber, not on mine, but on your saber, there's going to be a pin right here. And what you need to do is take a pair of wire cutters like this, pair of wire cutters, and what you're going to do is you're going to grab that pin with the wire cutters and pull straight out. Once you do that, the bottom half of the saber will slide off. Don't take this all apart. In Shamim's tutorial, he shows how to take all this apart, and you definitely don't want to take all this apart. Just leave the hilt together. She'll be sliding this hilt off the top half of the saber. Then once you have the top half of the saber taken apart, you'll have the stock blade and everything in there. Then follow Shamim's thread about how to take the top half apart, and you'll be golden. As for me, yeah, you can see my mess right there. It's a little bit more complex than a standard Black Series lightsaber. And it's sad that a lot of this is probably going to die, because this one is the one getting the NeoPixel treatment. So it's cool because it was my first Black Series lightsaber, and it's going to be my baddest Black Series lightsaber. But I'll also have another one with standard in-held LEDs that has the same chassis and 26650 battery. So I'm really going to have two cool Kylo sabers. One's going to be traditional in-hilt LED, and the other one's going to be NeoPixel. And I'm sure the NeoPixel saber will get all the fanfare, which is going to be this one. So, in a way, I'm kind of proud. I think what I am going to do is harvest this JJ saber clip off this one, because I never hang this on my belt. If I'm carrying this saber, it's lit. And I think I'm going to put the stock Black Series saber clip back on here. And then I'm going to put this saber clip on the Blade Builder's lightsaber that I made, because that Blade Builder's just sits in my box and doesn't do anything. And then that way I'd have a real lightweight lightsaber to clip onto my belt. So I think that's the deal. But Bonnie, the biggest thing is taking these two screws out, then prying this off, and taking that pin out that's right here. Once you take that pin out that's right here underneath that plastic piece, it's done. Then you can pull the lower half of the saber. Now mine's a bit more complicated, so I can't do that. But the bottom line is you will be able to. It'll be easy. So I hope that helps you, Bonnie. Don't be afraid to do this. Learn how to solder. And I know you Aussies down there, because everything's so expensive to ship to you, you'd rather learn how to do it yourself, because I've been watching all y'all's threads. Whether you're from Australia or New Zealand, you people down there in the southern hemisphere are absolutely resourceful. So I know you can do this. Just learn how to solder. Taking this saber apart take you 5 minutes. The sad thing is, you pay, I don't know what y'all are paying now, but when I bought this saber, it was like $115 or something like that. I think they're going for like $250 now. It's crazy. But you know, it stinks taking something brand new apart that works. But the fact of the matter is, when you light that thing up, when you push that switch forward and you light it up and you see those pink blades, which are dull and you can't see them even when it's dark, and you know it's time to redo that saber. How Hasbro did this is pathetic. It is woefully shameful how dull these blades are. So when you do the modifications, especially if you replace the board, if you use the stock board, you're still going to have dull side emitters. So I'd highly suggest replacing the board. My suggestion, you know, used to be Spark 2 for the board. You know, I don't know if I do that right now. Prism works. You know, Spark 2 R3 works, and that's usually the board that I go to on these, but you know, I'd wait a couple months on that. But the fact of the matter is you know, the saber's easy to take apart. Hope this video helps. May the force be with you. So Bonnie, really quick, when I, you know, once I got the saber apart, you know, I was able to, you know, I wanted you to see this part of it. So the bottom line is, you know, once you get the hilt apart, like this, I'm looking at it and I'm like, Jesus, what a sad state of affairs we have going here. Wow, I hope that's going to work. I had to cut away so much of this from my switches. This is my original Black Series hilt. This is the first one that I ever did. And I had to cut away a lot of the hilt to get around my switch plan, and now I'm regretting that because I hope this is going to work out for my new process, but there's not much metal left there to go into. But the bottom line is that this bottom half of the hilt, this, you want to leave this together. Don't take this apart. You know, never mind all this stuff. This is crazy wiring harness that I redid that's different than, you know, what came on the saber. And but the bottom line is you don't want to take this part of the hilt apart. You want to leave all this together. So, you know, there you have, you know, the pommel and the bottom half. Just leave this part together. Don't bother taking this apart. And then you have the head of the saber, and remember, you'll have your side blades in there, and what you have to do is knock out these pins on the side blades, and then they just pull out. You actually lift these emitter halves once you knock out these pins. So you basically take, you know, a punch, and you knock out those pins out, and the pins will come out of here, and then these side emitters will come off over the blade, and then you can just pull the blade out and unwire all that. And then the main blade, you know, once you get it unhoused from the switch housing here, it just basically, this whole head just slides off the main blade, and then you're left with your main blade, which, you know, your main blade, and there's, you know, a factory board, what it looks like. So, you know, that factory board goes in here, and there's actually a foam piece that goes in, but, you know, there will be a plastic housing around this too that's round, that's your switch housing. But when you know, when you pull this blade out of the head of your saber like this, then you're left with just your factory board and your stock BS blade. Now, to me, I don't reuse any of this. This is all garbage. I eventually need to sell this stuff on eBay because some people pay good money for it. And these LED strips are brand new. They've never even really been used except when I first bought the saber. So, you know, the bottom line is that, you know, once you get the, and ignore all this is this is insane, because this was my EL wire saber, and it's a sad day for the EL wire saber, but it's getting ready to get better. And, you know, I haven't totally given up on the idea of being able to put EL wire back in this thing, but, you know, Bonnie, I hope this helps you be confident in taking the saber apart. 2 screws and 1 pin, and boom, pull it apart. You're done. And then you knock out the 2 pins on the side blades, and then you just pull the main, you know, you pull the head right off the end of the saber blade. So you want to push this in toward the tip of the saber blade, and it comes apart. Now, there's some glue in there, so, you know, it takes a little bit of handling to get it apart. But the bottom line is, you know, it's fairly easy to do. The one thing is, and this is my, it's a sad day for this saber, but don't throw this away. That's part of your battery pack. You want to hang on to this, because this end is exposed, you know, in the hollow part of the hilt down here. So you don't want to throw this part away because you'll reuse it in whatever setup you do. You know, the funny thing is I'm looking at the engineering on this setup, and I could have done so much better, and now I can do so much better. This was my first conversion ever, and this is an old, you know, Spark 2 R1, but I'm definitely much better at this now. But at any rate, hope that helps. May the Force be with you.